word of warning. If there are any small ears that might be listening, you may want to move them into another room, as our next guest will be telling us how she helps Irish women feel empowered in the bedroom.
Go on, how big are your ears? Are they small? Do you want to go into another room? You okay?
What? Oh, I was thinking, what is size of ears, like in relation to something else?
Small ears.
Like, I was thinking you're talking feet size. That's ears now as well, is it?
Joining us is holistic sex educator Jenny Keane. Good morning, Jenny.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm really good. Yeah.
When people start talking, what is an holistic sex educator, first of all?
So I teach people about sex. So I talk about anatomy and physiology, obviously, but I also work at a body-based level. So my background is in somatic therapy. So much like, you hear about psychology being about mind-based therapy or talk-based therapy, somatic therapy is body-based therapy. So it's working in and through the body, which makes sense, right? Because when we talk about sex or pleasure, that's happening, sensation, right?
Yeah.
Happening in and through the body. So holistic sex education is talking about sex on all levels. We're not just saying, right, you have a problem, take a pill. We're saying, right, what's happening at a physiological level, what's happening at an emotional level, what's happening at a mental level, and how is that affecting your sexuality and how you express it and interact with it and engage with it.
Fascinating.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, we don't talk about how, it's a feeling and it
Well, that's
permeates
it.
us.
Are we quite prudish? Because, in Ireland, you want to ignite the sexual revolution of Ireland.
It's already ignited.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's
I
done.
have all the ladies here watching.
She's lit the fuse, my friend.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't believe reading your notes and the amount of people that are turning up to your workshops, your followers online. So this is well and truly underway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to give you an example, I was doing these workshops pre-COVID. They weren't online, they were in person, and I had, in 2019, 100 women in sex workshops. In 2021, last year, I had over 20,000 women, right?
That is huge.
It is huge.
Irish women generally.
Yeah, mostly Irish, yeah.
And no men?
So sometimes the workshops, I'm mostly focusing on women. It's not possible for me to talk to absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
Because
So you don't teach us what to do?
Well, I teach the women how to teach you.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's so funny because we're sitting here and we're having a laugh, and it is funny. Like,
Yeah.
sex should be funny. It's something to be
Absolutely.
enjoyed. But also, it's a sort of thing, and I don't think it's like that anymore, but throughout the ages, throughout literature and everything, it's something that happened to a woman, not something that she was an active participant in. Like,
Yes.
something that she was empowered to take control of. It was, this happens, and you just get it over with.
Absolutely.
like how wedding nights were written about in books.
I mean, that doesn't just happen.
Hold on, you're going to learn. We're going to learn. We're going to learn.
I might make a workshop just
We're
for
just
you.
doing one just for you. That's it. But that's important. Is that
Yeah.
something that women are starting to realise?
Yes, and because the way sex and the way that we engage with sex has changed. And let's say what you're talking about there is that decades ago, the focus on sex was really about responsibility, marital duty, reproduction, right? So it didn't matter how long somebody lasted. It didn't matter if somebody had an orgasm or not, because that wasn't the purpose. But over the last couple of decades, that focus has now shifted towards connection, intimacy, and pleasure, right? So now people are asking more questions like, is there more to know than I know now, right? Is there more to experience than I'm currently experiencing? How can I access more pleasure? And education, for me, is the way into that, because it helps you. I always say this to people. When you experience something and you don't have the tools to understand what's happening, so if you experience a sexual issue, like for example, if you can't orgasm, or you don't know if you've ever orgasmed, the problem is that you think that because you haven't got the tools and you haven't got the education, you think there's something wrong with you, that you're broken, and generally avoidance sets in, right? So education helps you open, what I always say, open the trapdoor of your mind, so it allows you to understand what's happening, and not just what's happening, but also gives you options and choices to work with your sexuality so that you can move closer to it rather than further away, right?
Yeah.
And that is what allows you to move from your mind into your body.
But sex is a skill.
Yeah.
you know, it is like something that needs to be practiced.
Absolutely.
So are you encouraging people to practice it more often? Is it something that...
Yes.
Practice as much as you can, and the better you'll get.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Because when it comes to absolutely everything in life, we acknowledge that if we want to learn something, we have to apply ourselves to it. We more than likely have to find a mentor or a couple of mentors. We have to learn methodologies, tools, and then we have to practice in order to be good at that. Like if you think about...
What about if you're married? To go and find a mentor? What do you mean, like a mentor?
Well, like I'm not going to come into your bedroom.
Oh, right, okay.
You know,
so
I'm
someone
just
to
teaching
kind of
you.
teach a couple.
Yeah, I teach you
Okay.
skills, right?
Oh, right.
Like if you look at my Instagram, I have a recent reel that I put up, and it's teaching people simple positions, like sex positions, that help them to move more efficiently and effectively, so that their thighs aren't killing them, for example, right? I have
actual basic things
basic
to make it more comfortable.
Like a lot of people, like for example, when women are on top, one of the biggest things is that they find it really uncomfortable to keep going because they might have issues with their hips, or their thighs are just on fire and it's not possible to keep the rhythm or the stamina. And so therefore they're not thinking about, oh, am I feeling pleasure right now? They're thinking, how am I going to keep going, right?
Yeah.
And it's just simple things to say, why don't you move your legs in this position? And for that, I don't take my clothes off in my workshops. My pants stay on the whole time, right? Just in case you're wondering. It's not scary. No, because people do generally wonder.
I'd say they do,
So I
yeah.
have a workshop called Orgasm Online, and in 2020, when it went online, people were like, is she going to take her pants off and is she going to be fingering herself in the middle of a bedroom? And I was like, no.
No.
It's like a seminar-style workshop. I teach you what an orgasm is, where it happens in your body, how do you access it, how can you access more of it. And so it's teaching the basics, right, the foundations.
We need to go back to basics, my friend, because it's you know, I grew up in certain movies, and you know, it's like, oh look, it's done like that, and that's not how it works. It's like Bridgerton came along and we're like, oh look, they're actually thinking about a woman for the first time in popular culture on something like this.
Actually, pornography is probably a bad thing in that side of things as well.
Oh,
is
yeah.
it? Yeah, you know, you kind of think that it's a negative.
What we're talking about here is the should sex, right? So we're given these scripts, right, of what sex should look like. So this is what an orgasm looks like, sounds like, feels like. And if it's not happening like that, then therefore it's not an orgasm. A lot of women, for example, will come to my workshop and say, I've never had an orgasm. And then I say, these are the types of orgasms that you can have. And I'm like, now, how many of you have actually had an orgasm? And they're like, yes, I just didn't know that was an orgasm, right?
I think, in all fairness, even Friends, when it was like 1, 2, 3, Monica going through the numbers, that changed people's minds in the 90s, going, what's going on?
Yeah.
Jenny, it's you know, having so many people, there's obviously a huge demand for this out there, and it's such an important part of life, important part of our relationships.
Absolutely.
For people to stay interconnected, especially when they have kids. Like we were talking about, what is it, like 2,000 fights a year between couples when they have new kids or whatever. But there was a time when your family thought that you'd been kidnapped by a sex cult. What happened?
No, they didn't think I was kidnapped. This is my sister.
What happened, Jenny?
So, so how I got into this work, it's a very long story because I've been in it for over a decade now. But part of that was, you know, when I was asking questions and wanted to know the answer, I couldn't find them online the way that we have access to them now. So I found myself in workshops. I was in San Francisco. One of the first workshops I ever went to was in San Francisco, and it was on female ejaculation. The next one was on how to give good blowjobs and hand jobs.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, we're ready for the WhatsApps to come in already, and the emails. We know.
And at a certain point in time, I continued on in this like year after year, and at a certain point in time, my sister rang my mum and said, I think we need to go to Thailand to get Jenny. I think she's in a sex cult. So my mum rang me and said, right, so your sister thinks you're in a sex cult, and she's trying to plot an escape route for you. So I need to know what's happening and what's going on. And so I told her I was in a training for sexological bodywork, and it's much more about trauma, actually. And so I told her all about it, and she was like, that sounds really interesting. And I was like, it is. And she's like, are you having fun? And I was like, I absolutely love it. And she goes, that's all that matters then.
That's all we need to know.
The best fun.
Rescue aborted.
I love your sister. We need to get her.
Just wants it sounded like you're having too much fun. She wants to join you.
My sister would give Liam Neeson and Taken a run for his money. People are like, were you ever nervous traveling on your own? And I'm like, absolutely not. You don't know my sister.
I will find you. People can find you on jennykeane.com, and you're on Instagram as well.
Yeah, hello, Jenny Keane.
Hello, Jenny Keane.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure talking to you this morning.
It's so lovely to talk to you as
So
well.
lovely. Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to all the emails we're going to get. Just over a few words there,
Woke
I'm
up the
sure.
viewers this morning, I'd say. Jenny, listen, thank you so much.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Jenny.
Now, is that something you enjoyed? 0896 111 111. Do get in touch. Still to come, we're going to be making turkey meatballs in the kitchen.
Did we do that on purpose? Did we do that on purpose? We'll be back with you in a minute.